Hey everyone, welcome to another session of Dr. Vaidya's Heal at Home Live. And I am waiting for today's guest, who is Benaisha Dongre. She is a mental health specialist and also an image consultant. And she's going to talk to us today about her journey with her own personal mental health and how she's overcome so many difficulties to be able to help so many others. So I am waiting for Benaisha to join us.
Hey
Hi
Aarti,
Benaisha, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very excited to go live with you today. And as all our followers are tuning in, I was just telling them that today is a very, very special session because we have you with us, and I would love for you to
Thank
introduce
you.
yourself first
Surely,
to the audience before I jump right in.
surely. So, Aarti, as you know, I'm an image consultant and I also help people I don't help people, I assist people with their mental health. And I'm someone who is a personal enhancer for individuals for their attitude as well as their appearance. That's how I'd like to crisply put it. And yeah, this is pretty much what I do in a nutshell if I have to just be crisp, actually. Yeah.
How nice.
So,
So when we were chatting earlier, this is one of my favorite lives because when we were chatting earlier, you spoke about your own journey. That's so very, very personal. And for
right.
everyone who's just tuned in, I wanted to say that Benaisha is not only a mental health consultant, but has also gone through her own personal journey, which she was very privileged to speak at one of the TEDx conferences that she was invited to be a speaker. And I actually watched it today, and it's called My Downside Up Story. What a
Yes.
wonderful story that was, and what inspirational and positive um, journey you've had in overcoming your difficulties. So tell us about your downside up story.
So my downside up story today is my completely it's up, it's all the way up. And so my downside up story began when I was a little girl and I was around 8 to 10 years old way back then. And it all started with dyslexia, dysgraphia, and attention deficit hyper disorder, ADHD. So when my parents were kind of told that your daughter is diagnosed with this, it was something new back in the 90s when, we were growing up. It was something which not everyone knew, not everyone had kind of, you know, heard about it or exactly even knew what it was. So there were lots of, trainers that I went to. There were lots of, counselors that I went to who kind of always said that it is something which is, a learning disability, and that's that, and we will try to cure her. But there is actually no cure for dyslexia or any of this. There are only remedial sessions. So what happened with all of this misunderstanding, not being able to communicate better with my parents and me, and just understanding all of this. And I'm the firstborn to my parents. They too were very new into this, like
Absolutely, yeah.
most parents. And I wouldn't say that they were clueless, but they were definitely kind of misguided at certain levels, which kind
And
of led,
sorry
yeah,
to interrupt you, but I just wanted to
no,
bring to light that there is so much stigma around learning disabilities in India, and I can only imagine that the 90s were very, very difficult. And even today, we don't have the infrastructure to support children with, differently able children.
yes, that's the right one. So differently abled we are. And so a lot of people started to, my friends to begin with, some of my schoolmates, classmates, teachers in school actually looked at it more like, you know, uh, someone who we shouldn't waste so much time actually working on, because there are anyway so many students in the class. There were 60, 70 people in a class, and where are you going to take care of this one child who's anyway a slow learner? So I always was categorized to someone who was slow, who did not know how to, I mean, and who did not know how to communicate well. And look at me today, right, having a live with you.
Yeah, and being an image
So,
consultant and helping
right.
so many people how to learn how to communicate.
Right. So, a lot of it, I felt like I was this ball, in a football game, in an aimless football game without any strategy that was kind of tapped from one post to another, and that I never hit, I never hit, the goal. And so I felt that for a very long time. And through those emotions, I developed a lot of sadness within me. I developed a lot of today I'm informed, so I don't use words like I was depressed and things of that. So I was sad, I was upset, because there are varying degrees of the emotion. And now when I look back in hindsight, I was sad and I was upset. And I spoke less. So some of them thought I was autistic, some of them thought I was mentally, Down syndrome. But she looks fine, but then what is wrong with her? Why doesn't she not reply? Why doesn't she study well? What is wrong with her? Why does she always fail? Like, failing for me was the normal. Like, if I hadn't failed, uh, there was something wrong with my report card. And it was very strange because in kindergarten, I still have my reports which said the brightest girl in the classroom. And
Oh
then suddenly
wow,
after fourth standard, I was the first from the last. So, a lot of this brought emotions within me that felt like, what's the point of living? Let's just die. Let's just run away. So I had all of these thoughts which came about, which made me have a couple of attempts to kind of, today it's fairly easier for me to kind of say this to you publicly because
that's okay.
I lost network there.
That's
So it's fairly it's fairly better for me to say this to you now than it would have been, many years ago. But I feel like there are lots of us like this, lots of us who get snowballed with wrong information from whether it's schools. I mean, today I feel a lot of schools are getting better at communicating with parents. My parents were made to feel like they reproduced, a useless child. And I used to see that on their face, which is pretty devastating for a child of 10 years, now
gosh.
when I look back, and
A young age. Yeah.
especially saying this to, parents who are very young. My parents had me when they were 25, so by then we were growing with together in this whole parental journey. And most parents go through that, not just mine, most parents. And then came the movie Tare Zameen Par, which kind of shifted a lot of things. And then
Yeah.
it was a fad. It was a fad in the middle to, at least then, I got bulldozed into not have like people telling me that what are the point of you having dreams? You're anyways gonna fail. What's the point of it? So, all of this kind of keeps on playing in your head, and I just became, I mean, I earlier was a loner. Then I kind of started getting friends. I changed schools. So I went to a really amazing school later on called Beacon High, which is in Bandra in Mumbai. And I found a principal and a teacher who actually understood my needs, and they kind of molded me. They never shunned me out. I did study the ICSE curriculum like I did earlier, and with every other student, but I was kind of molded in a better way, and advised to study in different remedial formats. I had a remedial teacher as well. So all of this was assistance for me to really, it's like this diamond that you take and then you scrub it on all sides and you continuously keep on doing so. So
Of
I
course.
actually found people who did not give up on me, apart from my parents, of course, because sometimes
Oh,
you take your
yeah.
parents for granted and you're like, yeah, they're just always going to be nice to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I actually found that, my teachers and my new school was very nice to me. And that's when my confidence came about. And I thought that why not take up in the future a line or become somebody that my younger self would have needed. And
Wow.
that's how I started my journey on image and mental health. Mental health, again, sometimes for some people sounds very serious and very tedious
Yeah.
and scary as well. It's like you're going to a doctor. I am no doctor, but however, I I work with people on understanding their emotions, acknowledging their emotions, and kind of repackaging the way they look at themselves, and that's image building altogether. So I
Right.
plug in these two for a beautiful marriage for self growth and self enhancement of somebody,
How nice.
and yeah, that's
And we'll
about
come
it.
to your work in a minute, but you were telling us something that I'm sure a lot of our viewers at least know of someone or maybe are facing it themselves to have kids with learning disabilities. Can you guide us, Benaisha, on how one can identify that, one can understand that? I remember when you and I were talking, you said to me there were so many people who would just say, "She's so lazy, she's so dumb," you
Yes,
know. So
yes,
where do you get
right.
to saying that she needs help?
That's a very good question, Aarti. So, in fact, just recently, a client called me up and she's like, I have a 5-year-old who is very lazy, makes me shout, doesn't eat food, doesn't do things. So I'll tell like, people parents here who are listening, from our audience or individuals who might know of people who are facing this scenario. The child or the adult also might show a couple of couple of habits wherein they are they're kind of not responding to you quick enough. They are distracted with whatever they are doing as well as trying to communicate with you. So today I'm talking to you here, but I'm still looking outside the window and I'm still distracted with it, and I go, huh? So it doesn't mean that I'm trying to disrespect you, but there are these peculiar characteristics that individuals do have, wherein they can culminate into many different formats. So you don't have to be someone with learning disabilities necessarily, but
Right,
if it's
right.
a continuous thing, if it's something that is constantly prevalent with your communication with them, then you might want to keep your expectations lower. Though, nonetheless, frankly speaking, I feel like everyone should not have any expectations when you're raising a child,
Yeah,
because every child is very different. And today we have a new breed of children altogether coming out from the
yeah,
time we are to be parents. So, a lot of times, mothers kind of tell their children, hurry up and eat, get ready fast, do this fast. So it's all about snapping, instantly. Everyone wants everything instantly, we're in this Insta world where
yeah,
everyone's not Maggie noodles,
yeah.
everyone's not going to kind of, uh, you know, have like this scenario of, doing everything super duper fast. So
Yeah.
you have to kind of pace it out. You have to kind of give everyone their own time to
Yeah.
function. So
And I
I
think
think,
it's really, really important for parents who have identified this in their children to go through their own set of consulting and training and seek experts' help on how to support those children. Because, like you said, when you're 10 years old and you find out that you have a learning disability, it's like a socially very isolating experience. And you feel like I have no friends, I have nobody I can talk to. And as we're seeing more and more today, heartbreakingly so, but young people are turning to suicide and things like
yeah.
that. And at this time, I think it's so important for you to have your family as a really strong infrastructure and pillar. So, as parents, what advice would you give on how you can support your children through their journey?
So I think it's very important to be patient with your child. This is something that my mother did for me, and that really, really helped me. I feel today I'm not saying just mothers do that. It's even the fathers, and I feel like patience is a key ingredient in parenting, because it's like this, right? You put in a seed and you water it. You got to be patient for it to bloom. Just because you keep on pouring water day after day and hour after hour and putting like a beam light on it and hoping that it kind of you know just
Yeah,
grows
absolutely.
faster,
So
that
true.
that's
Yeah.
not really going to work. So patience is a very key ingredient in parenting. And another thing, what I would like to say here is that, the mother and the father have to be together in this. There is no good cop, bad cop in a scenario where you're dealing with a child like this. Because a
Yeah.
child anyway listens to one command and understands one thing at a time. So don't
Very
confuse it by saying that,
yeah.
okay, yes, you can go. No, but you can't go. But why should
Yeah.
you go? No, I mean, just mutually decide this and then take it forward.
Yeah.
If you have
So,
your own, if you have your own kind of arguments on certain things, try not to have it in front of the child, because if your child is overly sensitive, they are going to feel like it's because of them that you are arguing, and then
yeah.
might take different steps.
So I wanted to ask a few questions that our users are posting. Sorry to break the flow. I hope that's okay with you.
Absolutely, absolutely. I just wanted to ask you, Aarti, it's becoming gloomy at mine. Am I becoming a bit dark?
No, I can see you well.
You can see me. Okay, that's fine. So it's just my ambiance.
So
All
we
right.
had one user who asked, is a loss of focus necessarily a disability?
No, not at all.
Not at all.
No.
Okay, we have another user who's asking, how do you balance between obsessing and supporting your child? Like when you find out something like this, parents obviously get very, very concerned and very obsessed about how they constantly want to fix it, like you said.
Mm.
And how do
They
you
should see
draw
my
that
Fix
line?
It Instagram video.
Yeah, I
Yeah, so
will.
I actually have for everyone who's here, I have a video on my IGTV on my Instagram account, wherein the title is Fix You. I will fix you. And parents must watch this, because I think I had this one outburst and I did this video and kind of telling people about you can't fix everything and parents are one part of it. Because I
Yeah,
feel like every parent, see, when you are when you start to walk, all right, as a child, there will be times your child will fall. Every time you cannot keep on holding your hand beneath that the child stays, because if you keep doing that, what are you really doing? You're smothering the child more than required. When you smother the child at this age, he will be fine and you will be, happy and satisfied and be like, okay, my child is safe. There is no physical damage to the child. But internally, the damage that you are causing and that you are actually have started to build with your child, you can't even imagine,
wow.
because you are making your child so dependent on you that you are not understanding his needs anymore. And he doesn't understand his needs anymore because mom and dad have already pre-decided what my needs are going to be. And then cut to 13 years later, you ask your child, what do you want to do in life? Your child says, I don't know, you tell me, what should I do? And then the parent says, but why should I tell you? You have a mind of your own. Well, 13 years ago, he did not have a mind of his own and you did not feed it well enough.
So
So
it's
I
very.
think, yeah, this is the catch 22, I would say.
So, do you have any advice on what that line is? How do you toe the line as a parent? Like, what are certain things that you should let your child do independently?
All right, so I feel like you should let your child firstly get things by himself. For example, by the time he turns 5 or 6 years old, you do dress him up or dress her up, but you can show the kind of clothes and say, which one do you want to wear? Now, obviously, you have decided these pre-coordinated outfits that are
Yeah.
appropriate for the occasion,
Yeah.
right? I'm not telling them to match it, but you can just ask them, so which one would you like? All right, so
Give
let
them
them
an
pick this
opinion.
up. Yes, get them to have an opinion in a very kind format. So, what do you
Yeah.
want to wear? No. Which one would you like to wear? Because what are you saying when what do you want to wear? You are showing anger through your tone, you're showing no compassion through your tone, and the child's like, I don't know what to wear, you say what to wear. So, it goes into that format again, versus when you ask your child what would you like to wear, you are sensing this formalness. The child senses the formalness of the tonality and then starts to think and then starts to say, I think I'll wear this because I like pink. So there is a reason. I'm choosing this because I like pink. Now you can't say no, but I don't think it's nice. Then that's your fault already, because the five options you gave the child, you should have decided, are they appropriate or not. You have to do that much for them, of course, but let them take the last word, so that when they go to the birthday party and somebody says, I like what you're wearing, an auntie goes to him and her and says, I like what you're wearing, then let the kid get some confidence, say, I chose it, or whatever,
How
how the kid says it. So I
what a lovely
think that's
tip.
so
Yeah.
important. I think that's so important, and people, I mean, clothes, something which cannot harm the child in any format, right? It's not like a
Yeah.
life-changing opinion.
Yeah.
Then, for
So
example, teach them how to have a bath. That's
yeah.
another thing.
Yeah. So sorry, we
Yeah.
have three more questions
Yes,
that are
yes,
coming up. One
definitely. Go
request
ahead.
is to speak in Hindi. I don't know if you're good with it, but if you could answer some of the
मेरी
questions in
हिंदी
Hindi.
कच्ची पक्की है.
Okay, so then in Kacha Pakka Hindi we'll answer. But Trisha asks, do children suffer from anxiety? And what age does that typically begin? That's a mental health sort of question. Yeah.
Mm. Yes, anxiety starts from anywhere around 2 to 3 years old. Now, anxiety over here is anxious about, should I eat what you're giving me, also is anxiety. Because anxiety comes from uncertainty. Understand that. So, anything that the child is uncertain about, the child will be anxious, right?
Right.
Today, I have a pet. Okay, now she's 5 months old. She is anxious the first day she met me because she's
Right.
uncertain who I was. And
Yeah.
that's all about 3 months when she met me. So,
Yeah.
similarly, a child is in the same format. They are uncertain about what is coming their way. They will bring about, bless you, they will bring about some sense of anxiety, but not uncertainty. I would say not anxiety at large. But yes, when the child grows up and goes to school and has certain different kinds of pressures coming their way about, to be somebody's friend or not to be somebody's friend, so on and so forth, what really happens is that they start to get anxious of being accepted into certain social peer groups. They become anxious if you start creating a lot of demands. Now, what I mean by demands here is that you have to eat so much food, whatever's in your plate. Now, the child is full. Don't force the child. So don't let the child finish everything that's in his plate, because somewhere down the line, 10 years cut to, he might be obese because of you forcing him. So
Yeah.
there are many repercussions which we don't think. We think that it's healthy for the child. But if the
Yeah.
body is rejecting it at that point of time, how is it healthy? It's not
Very
healthy.
true. Very true. So we
So,
have
yeah.
Karan who's asking us, what is your advice for young adults who are trying for children? Most people are so stressed with work. How do you make that decision? When is the right time to have a child?
Okay, so I'm the same young adult as you, Karan. And there is no right time to have a child. If you're talking about ye ghadi sahi hai, this date, this time in your life. I think when you feel settled as an individual and as a couple, most importantly, when there is a love blossoming in your relationship, when you feel financially stable about taking this big decision, because it is a big criteria. So I feel that these two key points will really help you know and get that gut inside you to say that, hey, I'm ready. It shouldn't be that I've been married for so and so years, so now I need to have a child. Please don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like your marriage can take 10 years for you to understand your spouse and truly be in love with your spouse, to want to create another human being. So don't
Absolutely.
be on this timeline and this ticking bomb के लड़की अभी 30 साल की हो गई है, 35 की हो गई है, 34 की हो गई, this तो बच्चा पैदा करना है. No, you can't do that, because when she's 40 years old, she'll be like, oh my God, maybe I didn't want to have this child altogether. Or you might
Yeah.
say that, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we
Um,
have a lot of examples to kind of say that age is no barrier. I mean, so I think,
yeah.
yes, it does biologically, it does create certain complications, and that is something which I'm not proficient enough to advise you on. But
Yes.
I would say speak to your doctor and see biologically how you are positioned and how much you can move around, and then take your decision.
So you have lots of women who are, rallying in support for what you just said. Ki don't look at the clock, or bacha paida karna
Yeah.
hai, khadi nahi hai, time limit nahi hai. So we have lots of support. But I'm going to go back to my questions now.
Mm-hmm.
In our conversation, Benaisha, that you and I were having, we were talking about the power of positivity and how
Mm-hmm.
important that is in mental health. We are coming out of a very depressing, mentally draining, exhausting, unprecedented time. And we talked about social media and how to just step away and detox, because you're either reading the news that's very, very depressing, or you're looking at social media where everybody seems to have a fabulous time. It's like these two extremes, and you're tossing somewhere in between to figure out where you stand. So tell us a little bit about how to overcome sort of your own negativity with self empowerment.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, Aarti. So, positivity, firstly, is not just by chanting mantras. It is not just by japoing, ये करना है, वो करना है, मैं ऐसी हूँ, मैं वैसी हूँ. All those things are not positivity alone. They're not just that. So, first and foremost, I would say is I'm trying to do this in English as much as I
Yeah,
can.
please, please.
So, I think what's really important is acceptance. If we don't accept our current scenario and our current situation, we can't really go ahead in any format, right? If at all we are right now in this pandemic situation, there are two ways. Life can always show you two ways or three ways or multiple ways, but usually two or three definite ways. In this situation, in this scenario, what are you really gaining is what you need to see. So when the pandemic hit, you know, all the whole world, and we all were in this similar situation. Something that I told myself was that I get to spend more time with my family. And I've been, so I just recently got married last year, and I moved to New York with my husband, and we just came back. So I haven't really spent time with my in-laws. So I really don't know what it's like. But this pandemic really gave me that opportunity to know them much more than I have ever known them in all these 12 years. So I
Yeah,
feel like there are many such moments which us personally are not, we're not really seeking those moments. We're trying to see the bigger picture. पैसा नहीं आ रहा है, business खराब है, ये हो रहा है, बाहर नहीं जा सकते. We're seeing all these superficial things. We're not seeing that we're actually getting more time with the people we've chosen to be with, and we've chosen to be married to, or we've been born into that family, or all the time that we keep on cribbing about, I don't get time for my family. Well, hey, you just got 4 months.
yeah,
Right? So I think positivity is firstly about acceptance. You have to accept things. You can't escape them. If you start brushing things under the carpet, it doesn't you create an escape mechanism rather than an acceptance mechanism, and that is something which will always stop you from thinking positive.
right.
Because thinking positive comes with many patterns coming together to create a thought process of thinking positive, right? So when you say that mathematics has geometry, algebra, a lot of other factors in it.
Yeah,
It's not just math, right?
yeah,
It's not 2 plus 2 all the time. It's a lot of things coming together.
yeah,
Similarly, positive thinking is not just about, it's not just about positive affirmations. If
right.
today I am saying positive affirmations, I'm a good human being, I'm a capable human being, I'm someone who is very bright and spunkful, all those things I say to myself, I am a calm, composed individual. The next thing, my house help drops a vase, and I look at him or her and I say, "What are you doing? This was so expensive. Why did you break it?" There
Yeah,
goes all my positive affirmations,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I feel like acceptance of what you can do and what you need to work towards is really,
yeah,
really important. And there are two things again that I really like to mention regarding positivity and personal upliftment is about responses and reactions. So a lot of our communication with ourselves and with others are based on either being responsive or being reactive. So if we are reactive, like how I just enacted right now, we are not we're not going to get to positivity soon, because we're not calmly analyzing the situation and telling the person that it's okay, you broke it. It was really expensive and very important to me. But please, next time, be very careful. What have you done here? You have made them less anxious. See, this is also how we build other people's anxiety, and then we say we want a less anxious world.
Yeah.
So don't build anxiety of somebody
Yeah.
else, no, just because you've got it in your life,
Yeah.
right? So here you're making the house help a less anxious by saying that what you did was wrong, पर ठीक है, अभी हो गया है, भूल जा, पर अगली बार ऐसा मत करना. So
Fair
that is
enough.
what you're trying to show empathy as well. So I
Empathy
think
is
there's a
so
bunch of
important.
things.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's very important. And in today's time, people are being nasty. People are treating, people who have got COVID as if they've got some untouchable disease.
Yeah.
Like neighbors are fighting with each other, and families are fighting with each other to stay away. I mean, we've come closer, but we're still so apart. And that's the
So
irony of
true.
today's
So
situation.
true. And, unfortunately, we're running out of time, but this is
Yes.
such an interesting conversation. I'm going to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
We talked about a detox from social media, and our session today is all about healing from home, right? So we're like,
Right.
heal at home. Can you tell us a little bit about this craziness that is social media and how we need to just step away and get perspective?
So I think first and foremost, everyone gets screen fatigue, especially at this time. And as much as they say, no, I can totally handle it. I'm so used to this. Come on, like, who are you kidding? I'm getting screen fatigue as well. So I think what we need to do is we need to cut off from using our devices, especially when before we go to sleep at night. We should do something more soothing, calming, like meditation, or if not at all, read a book instead of reading a blog post on Instagram or Facebook or any other article space. Touch
That's
and feel a book, which is so important today, or anything else. Now, screen fatigue here also includes the television, so avoid that because that also is a part of media. I would here recommend people that if at all your head is hurting a lot, if you're feeling very sluggish, if your job or your hobby or your passion requires you to look at your screens a lot, I would say before you sleep, at least, sit in a quiet room with no fan, no AC on, because even those make noise, and sit in a pitch dark room. 5 minutes of no vision and no noise can really calm your senses down quite instantly. If you start
how,
doing this, yeah,
what
if
it
you start
takes.
doing this every day, you will, it's almost like a plug in and a plug out for your body.
How
So
nice.
our senses need to relax.
I'm definitely going to try that tonight because I have great trouble falling asleep, mostly because I'm browsing on my phone or watching TV.
Yes.
But before we end, just to take one or two user questions, Yash says, can you give us a few tasks or exercises on improving self-awareness?
Self-awareness. Okay. So self-awareness here again, you need to make a checklist, okay? Make a checklist of all the things that you are good at. The other column can be all the things that you want to be good at. And then the third column, which says all the things that you think you are not good at. Try to analyze all of these. Then try to focus more on what you're good at. And can the good at be any part, can add value to your communication with your friends, family, work people? Can those good attributes culminate into a business opportunity for you? Then you'd be a happier person. You do what you love. The other part, which is things that you want to be good at, try those things out because for self development and to get to know yourself, I think you need to do things that you fear in order to know what you don't know about yourself because you don't know what you don't know. So you must get to know that by trying new things that actually scare you because certain things, I'm not saying go bungee jumping, like that's not
Yeah.
something that I'm expecting right now. but
Right.
try on something, like talk to somebody you think you're afraid of, or give an opinion in a place which you thought you'll be rejected. Do these kind of things, because you will be surprised. Either you'll go into the category of I'm good at this or I'm not so good at it, then again you can start working on it. And
Yeah.
all the things that you call not so good at, call them work upon, because you're going to eventually start to convert it to things that you need to work upon.
How lovely.
So this is what I would
That's
recommend.
amazing advice. Thank you so much for a wonderful,
Thank
positive, and
you.
uplifting session. And I'm sure that a lot of people hearing you talk today are inspired to take a more positive approach to their journeys.
I hope
Thank you
so.
so much,
Yes.
Benaisha.
Thank you so much, Aarti, for having me here.
Take care.
You too. Bye bye.